Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the story of a really fascinating Japanese racehorse, Narita Taishin.
He really is quite a character.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking through these excerpts from the story of racehorse Narita Taishin, and we're basically going to pull out the most important bits, the surprising facts about this horse. So let's unpack this. The story of a horse who kind of defied expectations right from day one.
And I think what's really compelling here is that it goes way beyond just, wins and losses. We're exploring the narrative of a truly distinctive character in racing history. It's about personality, perseverance.
And those moments of brilliance.
Exactly, those flashes of just perfection, even amongst all the struggles.
What a start he had, right? I mean, his birth was unusual from the get-go.
Very unusual.
Born in June, which, well, that's quite late for a foal long after the usual spring season. They usually want them born earlier for development time.
Right, gives them more time before the races start.
And then, apparently, one morning, everyone was just astonished because this little undersized foal had just stood up on his own.
Whoa, just like that.
Yeah. And despite being late born, kind of small, he was still bought and sent off for training.
Being late born and undersized in horse racing, that's a huge disadvantage. It immediately sets up that classic underdog story, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He was fighting uphill from the start.
That kind of adversity just draws you in. You want to see if they can overcome it. Narita Taishin was definitely swimming against the current.
And he certainly didn't make things easy for his trainers either. He was apparently a real handful.
Putting it mildly, perhaps.
Probably. The source describes him bucking off riders, just deciding to take a nap in the middle of the day.
Seriously, a nap?
Yeah. And even trying to just head back to the stables if he wasn't interested in, whatever they were trying to do.
That's quite the personality.
And combined with his slim build, his sort of nervous temperament, people really doubted him. How did you train a horse like that?
Well, that's the thing. Those quirks, they sound almost charming now, but back then, huge headaches for the trainers. It takes incredible patience.
I bet.
But it's often that very difficult nature, that independence, that's linked to their unique power, their X factor, Maybe that fiery spirit was also his engine.
Interesting point. So his debut race is a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, not great.
Too tense, maybe too soon for him, and he just sank without a trace, as they put it.
Ouch.
But then, remarkably, he wins his very next race.
Talk about bouncing back.
Right. So that kind of set the tone. Inconsistent early on. But then you started seeing flashes of his signature move.
The late speed.
Exactly. That incredible closing ability. It eventually got him a win in the Radio Tampa High. And he had some near misses, too, like in the Shinzan Kinnan, and a really strong second in the Yayo Show. You could see the potential bubbling up.
So the raw talent was definitely there, just maybe not always switched on.
Precisely. Which brings us to the Satsuki Sho, first leg of the Japanese Triple Crown. Big deal.
Huge race. And at Nakayama, right?
Yeah, Nakayama racetrack.
Yeah.
Known for its tight turns and that really steep hill near the finish.
Which is usually bad news for closers. Horses that finish fast like him, they often prefer long, straight runs.
Exactly. The conditions were technically against him. It favors horses that can hold speed through the turns, not necessarily ones that blast home late.
So the odds were stacked against his style.
Massively.
Yeah.
And yet, what happened next was just electrifying. He unleashes this absolutely jaw-dropping late kick.
Just finds another gear.
Out of nowhere. Flying past the favorite, Biwa Hayate, and the whole rest of the field. The source even says the camera barely caught it.
Wow.
One moment he was out of the frame, and the next he was exploding down the outside. Just incredible. They called it the race of a lifetime.
And you can see why. That kind of come from behind win, especially against the track bias, it's rare. It's dramatic.
Totally.
For the people who saw that, that wasn't just a win. That's the moment that cements a legend. Pure power, pure defiance, it sticks with you.
Absolutely. But after that incredible high, things got tough again. He chased the second Triple Crown jewel, the Japanese Derby.
But winning ticket got the better of him there.
Yeah, he was outmatched, finished second again later in the Takamatsu no Miya Kinnan, and then the injuries. They just started piling up.
The bane of so many great horses.
He had bleeding in the lungs, which is serious, forced him to miss key prep races. Then he just completely flopped in the Kikuka Show, the final Triple Crown race, finished almost last.
That's rough after such a brilliant win earlier.
And it didn't stop there. A minor fracture, stomach problems, and then, a tendon injury. That's often a career ender.
It really highlights how fragile athletic greatness is, doesn't it? You have this immense talent, but the body, it has limits. These injuries, they just rob horses of their potential, prevent that consistency.
He did actually make a comeback, managed to win the Meguro Kinnan, which was impressive.
Show that fight was still there.
But he still couldn't get past Biwa Hayahide in the Spring Tenno Show. And then his final race, a year later in the Takarazuka.
It was sad, really. He finished last among those who completed the race. And then retirement.
A tough end to a racing career that promised so much more, if not for the setbacks.
Yeah. And then his time as a stallion. Expectations were, well, modest. He carried his sire Livlia's bloodline, which had some prestige, but Narita Taishin tended to pass on, smaller frames, weaker builds to his foals.
And in racing, the stallion's legacy, passing on those winning traits, it's hugely important. It's how bloodlines continue.
Right.
So when his offspring didn't really make a mark on the track, his specific line, it just kind of faded out of racing altogether. A quiet end to that part of his story.
So when you look back at that famous 1993 group, Narita Taishin, Biwa Hayahide, winning ticket maybe on paper, just looking at stats.
He looks like the third one, yeah.
You might seem the least successful overall. But, and this is the key thing the source emphasizes.
About how he raced. Exactly. Anyone who watched him race knows his power. When everything clicked, his closing speed was blinding. It's that difference between stats and actual witnessed brilliance.
And that makes you think about legacy, doesn't it? What leaves a mark? Is it just the number of wins? Or is it how you achieved them? Some horses, like him, they become legends because of that unforgettable style, that fighting spirit, those moments that just take your breath away.
That's Satsuki Sho.
Exactly. That's what people remember. That brilliance transcends the numbers.
He ended up retiring peacefully, lived out his days at a place called Basic Coaching School in Hidaka.
The quiet retirement.
Yeah. And then in 2020, the same year, all three of those rivals, him, Biwa Hayahide, and Winning Ticket, all turned 30, which is old for a racehorse. Narita Taishin passed away from old age.
Wow, all three reaching that age together.
And the source has this really poignant detail. Even in retirement, the three were still racing, this time, to see who could live the longest.
A final, quiet race.
So what do we take away from all this? Narita Taishin's story, it really isn't just about the stats on a page, is it? It's about, like you said, spirit. This unlikely fiery underdog who, despite everything thrown at him, delivered these moments of just pure, blinding brilliance.
It really does make you question how we measure success, doesn't it? Whether we're talking about horses or humans, is it just the list of accomplishments?
Or is it something else?
Or is it about those unforgettable moments, that flash of genius, that spirit that just refused to quit even when things were tough, defying the odds?
Exactly. What does it really mean for something to be the race of a lifetime? Even if it's just one incredible moment in a career that had so many struggles, what does that tell us about greatness?
Something definitely worth thinking about.
Definitely. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. Check out our other videos for more stories you might enjoy.